Hey everyone, we're here again for our daily updates and devotions. As far as updates, I have a co-host today,
Hi.
my beautiful wife, Cammie. And so we're going to be talking about Proverbs 31 in just a moment. But first of all, some updates. As far as just what's going on in our culture and our world and things like that, we're just asking you to continue to pray that God would send revival to the church and to our nation and to the world. There's really not much more to update other than we would ask you to pray for Miss Sarah Swafford as she is preparing for surgery next week on her heart. Just pray for her speedy recovery and pray for Brother Clinton as he'll be traveling with her to Nashville and all her family. All right, let's get started with Proverbs chapter 31. It's the end of the book of Proverbs, and we got to the section of the Proverbs 31 woman. And I thought, what better time to bring my wife in so she can learn what a Proverbs 31 woman is.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, let's try that again. So, we're here today to talk about Proverbs 31. And what better than to have my wife here who is a Proverbs 31 woman.
There you go.
There we go. And so we're going to be doing that. She's going to be reading along with me today, and we're going to be talking about a few of these things, through these, how this applies to life and how we can make this happen. So let's get started. Proverbs 31. We're going to be taking this section by section. The first section is verses 10 through 12. Cammie, why don't you read those for us?
Who can find a wife of noble character? She is far more precious than jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will not lack anything good. She rewards him with good, not evil, all the days of her life.
Right. The big thing there we're going to talk about is she is trusted by her husband. Her husband trusts her because she is virtuous and she is valuable. And it's a lot easier to trust someone that you love and that you've lived life with, you've experienced things with. And, think about all the things that we've experienced in life, Cammie, and it's just a lot easier to trust someone that you know. It's hard to trust someone that you don't know anything about, wouldn't you say?
Definitely.
Yeah, it helps. We can finish each other's
sentences.
Look at there, see? Trusted her to do that. All right, very good. All right, our next section is verses 13 through 19. Let's read those.
She selects wool and flax and works with willing hands. She is like the merchant ships, bringing her food from far away. She rises while it is still night and provides food for her household and portions for her female servants. She evaluates a field and buys it. She plants a vineyard with her earnings. She draws on her strength and reveals that her arms are strong. She sees that her profits are good, and her lamp never goes out at night. She extends her hands to the spinning staff, and her hands hold the spindle. Right. This section we're going to focus on the part that she is a hard worker. The virtuous wife, the great wife that you can find, is a hard worker. She uses her hands, she uses her head, she uses her abilities, her gifts, and all those things to build up her family, to take care of her family, because ultimately she is doing that for God's glory, which we will see at the end of Proverbs 31 to kind of pull that back into frame. But she's a hard worker. Now, I will say this time, in this day and age, sometimes it's tasking to be a hard worker. Mm-hmm. It's just really hard to be consistent. It's like we have spurts, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you work hard for a season and you're like, I need some time off, and we slack and we let things go, stuff like that. I mean, not Cammie, but the rest of us, we do that. But the virtuous woman, if you're wanting to be a Proverbs 31 woman, it goes back to you work hard, and that's an idea of you're consistently doing things and moving to provide for your family, to care for them, and to love for them. But it's just a consistent thing. Again, it's going to be like a little roller coaster, but it's a constant moving up of ups and downs and things like that. So the idea there, if you want to be a hard worker, just try to work on consistency, not necessarily being the best. It doesn't say here that she is the best ever, right? Mm-mm. Did we see that part? Nope, that's right. It wasn't that she was the best at everything she did. It's just that she was consistent in what she did. All right, let's read the next verse, verse 20. Her hands reach out to the poor, and she extends her hands to the needy. All right, she is compassionate. A virtuous woman, a great wife, is compassionate, which means she cares for the lowly. She cares for the needy and the destitute, the lowly. She looks for opportunities to bless others. And that just kind of speaks to the selflessness. But it's easy to be selfish in our world, wouldn't you think?
For sure.
Yeah, that's all you're going to say about that, for sure.
Well, it's true.
Yeah, okay. All right, yeah. It's easy to be selfish. It's easy to think of self first. And that's where you got to practice and work on. That's what being compassionate is considering others and looking to love on others well and helping to provide for their needs and those type things. That's what the virtuous woman does. And I think Cami does that pretty well. All right. Let's look at next section, verse 21 and 22.
She is not afraid for her household when it snows, for all in her household are doubly clothed. She makes her own bed coverings. Her clothing is fine linen and purple.
Right. She's ready for tough times. That's what the virtuous woman is ready for. First, she takes care of others, and then she takes care of herself. But ready for tough times. The reason you got to be ready for tough times is, guess what? Tough times will what?
Come.
That's right. See? Finishing each other's sentences. Yeah. Not everything is rainbows and roses and, everything nice. Sometimes you have some valleys in life. It's not if, it's when. Mm-hmm. Right. Does that make you think of any other verses in the Bible talking about tough times and when they come?
Well, I always think of James 1, 2 through 4. Those are my favorite verses.
That's right. That's exactly the ones I was thinking of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whenever you face various trials and temptations, it's not if you face them, it's when you face them. You can rejoice. And so here, the virtuous woman understands that tough times will come and she prepares. All right, let's look at the next section, verse 23.
Her husband is known at the city gates where he sits among the elders of the land.
That's right. We could say that she, a virtuous woman, enhances her husband's reputation, and she expands his responsibilities and things like that. Now, kind of what that's telling us here is that the husband is out doing what?
Working.
Yeah, working. It's like we're talking about how she is a hard worker. Well, he's working hard too. Again, even in the midst of a Proverbs 31 woman, we find that it's a partnership. It's a husband and wife working hard together on their marriage, on their family, on providing, working hard in life, in the community, those type things. It's a give and take. You're supposed to work together. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Do you think we work together well?
I do.
Yeah. I talk a lot, and then I go to you, and you're like, yep. Okay. She's afraid to talk. All right, so that's what she does. She can help enhance his reputation, and so she builds him up. Again, it's going back to that compassionate thing, that not being selfish, hard work. She builds people up. All right, let's look at verses 24 through 27.
She makes and sells linen garments. She delivers belts to the merchants. Strength and honor are her clothing, and she can laugh at the time to come. Her mouth speaks wisdom, and loving instruction is on her tongue. She watches over the activities of her household and is never idle.
All right, there we go. So this section is going to be marked by she is endowed with godly wisdom. She embraces life and aging. I like that part there, right, where it says in verse, 25? Yeah, she can laugh at the time to come. One of the things that Kimmy and I talk about often, it's pretty funny. London's 2 years old, and she's, we're like, time she gets to kindergarten, I'm going to be fully bald. And you may not be able to tell it here, but Kimmy's getting a lot of grays up in there. So we tease like, people are going to be wondering her high school graduation if we're her grandparents. She's going to be completely gray. I'm going to be bald. But it's one of the things we laugh about it, And what that's telling you, too, is like somebody that's able to laugh at the days to come and rejoice is what it's really talking about, rejoicing in the days to come. Understand that, man, as you get older, life does change. Things may be different, but you've learned, you've grown, you've matured, wisdom, you've developed memories and all these things, and life can be sweeter in the years to come. I mean, do we really want to stay 20 forever and have the same life a 20-year-old has forever? Who wants to live in that vicious cycle, right? You want to mature, you want to move on. It's just like getting to a buffet, and the first thing you come to, and that's the only thing you eat. And it happens to be like a vegetable. That's all you eat, and you don't experience the rest of the buffet. Well, life is kind of like a buffet. As you go along, you experience more. And just like we were mentioning James earlier, right? The testing of your faith develops endurance. Endurance must be complete so that you can be perfect and lacking in nothing. So for your faith to be grown and for it to be fully mature, you need to experience life. And so that's what a virtuous woman does. She looks forward to the days ahead because she knows her faith is going to be growing. And also, we see her that her words are a light. In verse 26, it says, her mouth speaks wisdom, and loving instruction is on her tongue. Someone who is wise. And like we've been talking about all throughout the book of Proverbs, someone who wise is they stop, they're slow to speak, they're conscious with their words. And I'll say Cami does a pretty good job of that. She is very conscious about her words, and she likes to write letters and write things down first. And so, like, if she's planning on having a conversation with you, chances are she's typed it out about 15 times beforehand. Yeah, that's right. She likes lists and writes things down, everything like that, which is wise. We should do those things before we just blurt things out. All right, let's go to the next section, verse 28 and 29.
Her children rise up and call her blessed. Her husband also praises her. Many women have done noble deeds, but you surpass them all.
That's right, babe. You do surpass them all. She is admired by her family. Her children bless her. Her husband praises her. Again, it's one of those things that you can lead your family well. Your attitude, your actions, and things like that can impact the people around you. As she's uplifting them, they come alongside her and uplift her. So children and husbands, again, it speaks of this partnership that we have together. This isn't all the virtuous woman's responsibility to carry all the load. As she's been lifting us up, we come along and lift her up as well. It's a partnership. And we see that in Ephesians when it talks about the roles of husbands and wives. We see that all throughout Scripture, that we're to be building each other up. We're to be lifting each other up. And how we do that is we bless each other, we praise each other, we encourage one another. And so that's our responsibilities in that as well. All right, let's read the last two verses, 30 and 31.
Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord will be praised. Give her the reward of her labor and let her works praise her at the city gates.
Right, she is honored by the Lord. She has a godly perspective on life. She receives godly praise. And more importantly, a virtuous woman is someone who values the things of God more than the things of the world. That is more important to find in a woman than, say, a beauty or a materialistic type thing, or, hey, she grew up in my town, or I know her from something, or she's a friend. If you're looking for a spouse, if you're looking for a husband or a wife, you look, first of all, are they someone who loves God? And I will say that really attracted me to Cami when we first met is, I saw her walk into a Mercy Me concert. So right away, she's got to be godly, right? She walked into a Mercy Me concert. That tells it all right there, right? I could only imagine. And there we go. We got married. So, now this can be daunting. And a lot of times people may look at this, and husbands may look at that and be like, look, woman, look what you need to do. Side note, husbands, the last, 21 verses of Proverbs is dedicated to the wife, and the whole rest of the book is dedicated to the son. So the first 31 chapters and 10 verses is for the men, and the last 21 verses is for the women. Right?
Well,
kind of. Yeah. Really, the whole thing is for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's addressing his son to the first part and the women. So don't be prideful to say, hey, look, this is what you need to do, woman. Remember, the whole rest of the book is for you. But and women don't necessarily look at this and think, well, I don't do all those things. I fail here, and everywhere. This is not saying that there is a woman that is capable of doing all these things perfectly. It doesn't say that looky here, she makes her own bed coverings perfectly in every way. Oh, look, she evaluates a field and buys it absolutely perfectly and gets the perfect deal. The idea here is, and it's all throughout Scripture, is that we are to just be moving in the direction God has called us to move. We're to be working. We're to be going. And it's effort. It's putting forth effort and stepping out in faith and just doing what God has called you to do. We're not necessarily going to be perfect in what we do, but we can be doing for God's glory. And that's what it's saying here. So look at it from that perspective, that these are things that can help motivate me. Now, again, some of these things are a little little dated based on, I don't know, how we live our life today. I mean, I don't know how many people still make their own bed coverings. I guess there's still people who quilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I don't remember the last time I heard of anybody making a fitted sheet. Do you? Yeah,
No.
real talkative.
Not other than Walmart.
Yeah, Walmart makes them, and Target and different places like that, right? So the reality of it is, when you look at it, it just goes back to your. It's someone who is a hard worker, someone who is compassionate, someone who prepares for tough times, someone who blesses her family, someone who seeks after godly wisdom, someone who is admired by her family, and someone who ultimately, in all that she does, she chases after the glory of God. So whatever God has called you to do, wherever He's put you, chase after the glory of God. And I will say that Cammie is going to laugh or snicker and be like, oh, or whatever, but I must say, she definitely hits the Proverbs 31 test pretty awesomely. I will say, you know.
Thanks.
The only part of this that doesn't apply to her is her beauty is fleeting, because it is only growing day by day. Well, it was so good to walk through the book of Proverbs with you, and I look forward to our devotionals in the future. This is going to be our last one for a couple weeks. We will not be making any the rest of this week or next week. But the week after, what we're going to do is we're going to start going to 2 days a week, and we'll maybe go through the book of Psalms or something like that. We'll pray about that, and we'll pick up in a couple weeks. I hope you have a great evening, and I hope to see you Sunday.